Okay, so before I start the whiteboard, a little background on Salesforce. Mark Benioff had the vision of why can't enterprise software and CRM in particular be as easy to use as the consumer web, something like Amazon. So, you can go on Amazon and order a book, product, whatever, and you don't really need any training. And that was really kind of his vision. Why can't it be a service? Why can't it be in the cloud? Why can't it be as easy to use? And he even had this image in his mind of, just like Amazon, this collection of tabs that the user could navigate through and easily, use the service. And that's really, I'm going to talk a little bit about tabs, and those tabs relate to what's actually the fundamental building block within Salesforce is something called an object. And when you look at Salesforce and you look at an application in Salesforce, it's really a collection of these objects. And these objects might be something like an account or a contact, or an opportunity. And these are what we would call standard objects, right? So these standard objects that come with Salesforce, they have, a ton of functionality around them, 13 years of best practices and insights from our customers. And this collection of objects is what makes up an application in Salesforce. Put up app here. And you'll actually see that when we show you a demo, in the top right there's a drop down, you select the app, and when you change the app, the collection of these objects change. Now, my kind of rudimentary analogy is, we were selling CRM bread, and everybody loved it. I mean, Salesforce has grown to over 100,000 customers, and everybody likes what we're doing, what we're selling. But they started to say, the bread's great, but we're really interested in the kitchen, what this thing is built on, because we've got other things that we want to do. Maybe we want to make, muffins or bread or whatnot. So that's really where the Force.com platform comes in, because these objects are all built, and Salesforce is built on this Force.com platform. Now, so what does the platform give you? Well, the platform has things like mobile capabilities, built-in security, dashboards and reporting, workflows and approvals, API access, content, right? So there's just a ton of functionality that the platform provides when we were building out the CRM application, right? Maybe I should change this up here. I'll just change that real quick to CRM, right? To building out our CRM application, right? That's what all of the functionality was there, and what we were building, and it's all part of the platform. We started exposing this platform more and more. The other thing is that's worth noting is that these objects, these standard objects, they can also be renamed. So maybe you're not interested in accounts and contacts and opportunities. Maybe you're interested in, I don't know, you call them, if you're a healthcare provider, maybe you're interested in hospitals and patients and stays in the hospital, right? So you can change these custom objects, and that really is kind of the first step when you're changing out something in Salesforce, is this notion of customize. So I'll say customize here, and this customization of existing standard objects allows you to take the traditional CRM application that we provide and turn it into something that's more appropriate with the vernacular for your particular business. But let's say that this CRM piece, right, still isn't quite enough for you. And so what you want to do is build out your own custom app. So I'll put an app here. And this app would be also a collection of objects, and you could reuse the existing objects. Maybe, again, if I'm using my healthcare analogy here, I say hospitals. But maybe now I need to create new objects, custom objects, right? So I don't know, in a hospital, I have wheelchairs just for something, or maybe I have invoices, right? Whatever it is, again, it's what it is that you care about, which I probably should have mentioned earlier. What is an object besides being that fundamental building block? Well, you can think of an object from a technical perspective as an Excel spreadsheet or a database table, but from a business perspective, it's something that you care about and its relationships. So I care about hospitals and inventory and wheelchairs and whatnot, and I can build these things very, very quickly. And these are all what we call custom objects, or making up a custom app. And that really kind of comes to the next level of building something in Salesforce. In this first part, I was customizing something. Now I'm actually creating. And I'm creating new objects from scratch based on what my business needs are and whatnot. Now the key thing here is that all of these custom objects inherit all the greatness of the platform. So when we create this custom object here, right, we can mobile enable it, we can build dashboards and reporting, we can report on anything that's within Salesforce. It becomes accessible through the API, and there's built-in security, and you could have workflows. All of the things that you can do with the platform are available to these custom objects. Now let's say that this customization and just the creation, and the creation I should point out is what we call declarative, meaning it's point and click. You can very, very quickly and easily build out these objects and these applications within Salesforce. But let's say you need to get a little farther into the guts of the application, or a little farther down the road, do something a little more specific. You actually can develop. And you can actually write code, whether it's at the data layer, the business logic layer, or the presentation layer. You can write code to do whatever it is you need to do. And it's interesting because this is actually how it's laid out in the admin section of Salesforce inside of your org. And an org is an instance of Salesforce. In that, you'll see there's a customize section, a create, and a develop section, right? And so those are all the things that you can do within the platform. But now let's say customization of the existing one isn't quite enough for you. Maybe you don't necessarily want to build a custom app. You have other things. You want to build things, but you don't want to necessarily spend the time. So that's where something like the AppExchange comes in. And the AppExchange is basically where our ISV partners, independent software vendors, third parties, can place applications onto the AppExchange for you to install into your org or instance of Salesforce. These ISV, these third-party applications are all vetted for security, right? So they go through a security process and rigor before being accepted onto the AppExchange, right? They're enterprise level, right? So they can be some of them are simple, some of them can be simple, but we have some that are super, complex enterprise applications like BMC Remedy Force. They took Remedy, BMC, their IT help desk, and built it on Force.com, right? And there are and so I should say that some of these like Remedy Force are paid, but there's also some free applications, like some from Salesforce and our Force.com labs. And I think right now there's over 1,700 applications on there with over 1.2 million downloads. And again, these just show up, as an app when you install them in your org, when you put these into your org. And once again, these applications all inherit the goodness of the application that from the Force.com platform. And that's really part of what makes the Force.com platform this amazing application factory in the sky, in that you can customize existing CRM objects You can create new ones for your own business needs, or you can install these third-party vetted enterprise level applications to meet your needs. Again, all with no hardware, no software. It's all in the cloud. All right, so that's kind of the at a high level the building blocks of building out something in the platform. But on top of this is something called Chatter. Now, Chatter is what I like to say our communication and collaboration platform for communication within the organization. So, if I were to say to you things such as forward, attach, BCC, CC, reply all, what technology am I talking about? I'm talking about email. And email, everybody knows that we've lived with it, but a lot of, especially for younger workers that are coming into the workforce today, there's a new communication method and template. And they're familiar with terms such as like, follow, mention, at, hashtags, right? And where do those come from? They come from the social media sphere. Yes, they come from, the Facebooks of the world, right? But it really, really is a very powerful communication metaphor. And just like when Benioff looked at the consumer web in the early days, looking at like an Amazon for, hey, how do people use software and services? We're looking at the consumer web and that cutting edge of how people are communicating. And if you think about email, it's interesting. It's good for a one-to-one communication, and it can even be good for an email blast, one-to-many, but it's terrible for a many-to-many threaded conversation, which is what many conversations within an organization are. And that's what Chatter allows you to do. It allows you to communicate and collaborate with people in your organization. And you can bring those people in. So I can maybe I'm having a conversation with somebody about maybe an opportunity I'm working, and I need my manager to look at whatever it is that I'm talking about. I can just simply @ them and bring them in, right? So I can @ people, and I can @ people and bring them into the conversation. But the conversation might not just be these conversations are about things, right? And typically they're about some form of data, right? Or they're about some topic of interest. And so from a data perspective, I can actually now follow, right, the data that's important to me. So it's linking this people and data and allowing us to communicate and collaborate in the context of this data. So for example, I might have, again, an opportunity that I'm following, and I want to bring somebody in to look at it. I can @ them. I can ask questions about that record in the system, all using Chatter. But the other thing I might want to collaborate on is not just data, but documents, right? So maybe what I need to do is I need to upload a PowerPoint. I was working on something just the other day. That was actually the auspices for me recording this. Was, hey, somebody uploaded a PowerPoint, and I said, okay, well, here's another version of that PowerPoint, and as a matter of fact, let me do the whiteboard and record it, and then I can post that video in the Chatter, and it basically allowing these people to communicate. Again, it's people, data, and documents. But sometimes we want to collaborate on a topic of interest. Maybe it's not necessarily a specific record or piece of data. We want to collaborate in groups. And sometimes the groups are public, right? Anybody within the organization needs to be able to look at this information. Maybe it's something like 401k, like within Salesforce, people have 401k. There's a 401k group, and people can ask questions of the community and get answers, and also search through those threaded conversations and see where their questions have already been answered. But sometimes those groups can be private. Maybe you're talking about sensitive financial information, say in the CFO's office, and they need to collaborate on, next quarter's earnings announcements or something, and it's a private group, and only they, the people that are invited and part of that group, can see the conversation and see what's taking place there, and the documents that are in that group and whatnot. And you can also extend these private groups, send a private group out to a customer, which is a kind of a type of private group. And what that would allow you to do is take a conversation. So let's say you want to start up a group and then make it private with customers. And it actually has a kind of an orange motif to it, right? And it says it's with customers. So everybody knows very clearly this is a conversation that's being shared with customers. And what that allows you to do is suddenly have this tremendous interaction and collaboration and conversations, not just within your organization, but with your customers or your partners or key people outside of your organization. And they'll immediately get it, right? I mean, as soon as they log in and they see the feed, they understand, oh, this is kind of looks like a social media feed, and I get it. What's important to note there too is even though they're customers, they're just in the group. So all they see is what the conversations and any documents you want to put in the group. What they don't see, these external users, they don't see anything, any of your data. They don't see any of that. They're just seeing the conversation. So that becomes the power of Chatter. Again, it's kind of this communication, collaboration, conversation, just platform that you can. I think of almost like how you have conversations in the hallway, and what if you could capture those and record those and turn them into organizational knowledge? And that's really kind of the beauty of Chatter. What happens is, as time progresses and people start using it, you really start to get this hockey stick of use, because it becomes the central repository of organizational knowledge. Because as people are asking questions in there and they're getting answered, now people go to that repository to get their answers. We use it internally all the time. When I have a technical question, the first thing I do is I search through Chatter, and I want to see if this question's been asked before, if it's been answered, and many times I'll find the answers. But when I don't, now the new question that I ask, not only am I, contributing to the community, my questions themselves become smarter, because I'm starting to look at what people have asked and what the nuances are, and just in general, the conversations and the things that I can ask for become more and more pointed. So again, you're going to see all of this in the demo, but at least this gives you some understanding or some idea of what it is you're looking at when we're talking about tabs and application and Chatter and the Force.com platform and an Oregon instance. This is really what it is. This is, again, you're going to see it in the demo, but hopefully this gave you a decent overview.